All right. Good afternoon. As I said in the introduction, I have been working with small socially disadvantaged producers across all the 90 rural counties of the state. And sometimes, depending on the funding, I work with some producers in northern counties of South Carolina and southern Virginia. And we are a team, but my area is basically centered on the business, economic development, and the marketing issues of the producers. And as you see in some of the topics that appear on the screen, especially value-added business plan, I work with some Hispanic producers in Asheville area. I've been working with them since 2012, and I helped them secure rural development value added grant. And these are a group of about 30 producers. They are family, cousins, spouses. So I think three families, each of them received about 50,000 for the preparation grant to help them because they grow peppers and tomatoes and sell it wholesale. But when they receive this grant, they are able to process some of the products to expand their customer base and, of course, increase their sales. So and it all begins with especially record keeping. Most of our producers do not keep records. I remember 2016, North Carolina, the FSA director during Obama administration called me to his office and said about 95% of minority producers who applied for FSA grant were denied, mainly because a lot of them couldn't complete the forms, and two, they didn't have production records for the past 3 years. So all the training we do, we begin with record keeping. Go ahead, Mr. Sam. So today, I'm going to present basically on two topics which cut across most of the problems, especially the marketing and economic issues faced by these producers. And one of them is market feasibility analysis. And the reason why I chose market is that most of these producers, they know how to produce. Their problem is marketing, and sometimes they don't get advice. They just enter the market and find out that the market is already saturated. And here, when I talk about market, I mean the product. Every product has a market, and sometimes farmers, they will learn from other farmers and they jump into it and get burned. They don't do the research. And sometimes it's just a simple market analysis research. Just go to your local grocery store, look at especially the produce section. You can see some fresh produce that have been there weeks and they are wilted, which means there's no demand for that product. There are others, you go there, the next day they are not there. That tells you in your local market, these products can sell fast. And also talk to the produce session manager. I remember 2009 when we had this North Carolina Mushroom Growers Association, a big association across the whole state. And those farmers east of the I-95 were having problems selling their shiitake mushroom, which they received help from Dr. Omon, while the eastern side, especially Asheville areas, they were looking for mushroom to buy. So we developed a database, like electronic type of thing, where farmers can go in, buy and sell. And I also connected most of these producers to Food Lion, and their headquarters is in Salisbury here. And the lady told me, Dr. Yeboah, any product with North Carolina address, we will buy. These days, giving food poison and the rest, consumers would like to know the source of the product more than whether it's organic or not organic. So most of the time, we try to help these farmers make decisions. Not that the production aspect is not necessary. It's also very, very important. Dr. Gail will bear me out. I think 2014, we were working with some group of young guys from Nepal. They want to raise goats, slaughter it and sell it within the Southeast market, but they also wanted to grow some vegetables. And we went to visit them, Catawba County, and Dr. Gail and I think Dr. Ramesh advised them to take some of the soil sample to Raleigh, just for a soil test. When the results came back, the soil could not support whatever they decided to grow. So there are simple things that these farmers have to follow so that they will be able to be successful. Please go ahead. The second one is enterprise budget. You need to make sure that whatever you are going to produce, at the end of the day, there's going to be returns. And it's just the difference between your total revenue and your total cost. Total revenue is simple to generate. Your yield and the market price is the cost, which is a problem because inputs are not free. And even you, the farmer, your time is not free. So enterprise budget allows you to lay out all the inputs you may need, put the cost on them, you get your total cost, you maintain your animal or your crop to get the maximum yield, you get a price, then the difference is your return. And at the end of the day, you basically have to, you don't have to do it for the entire farm. If it's a crop on acre basis. So if you want to find out between tomato and say beans, which one is going to give you the best, giving your soil, you run it per acre basis, and whatever returns you get, you can make your decision, and all what you have to do is blow it to 1,000 acres, whatever you want to do. If it's animal, it's per head of a pig, per head of a cow, or whatever, and you move on. Please go ahead. So going back to feasibility analysis, there are several of them. There are about 4 of them which we go through, but we will settle on the market one. But the emphasis is the difference between feasibility study and a business plan. Most of the time we hear these farmers and other businesses, oh, I have my business plan, I'm going to get a loan. No, you can't do a business plan without a feasibility study. Feasibility study will tell you go or no go. So basically, feasibility study is the skeleton of a business plan. And a business plan is just putting the meat on top to make it attractive to any lender or a partner who wants to join you. So always, for the past 17 years that I've been here, my emphasis is to help these farmers operate their farms as business, because we cannot be doing the things that we were doing 20, 30 years ago. It's not going to cut. So if you are going to produce something, first you need to find whether there's a market. Then decide whether your soil can support it. You do your enterprise budget, and that will give you the decision whether to move in or not. So basically, feasibility study is about competition. It's about entry, whether the industry you are trying to enter, whether the industry is growing or not. For example, if we take the fresh produce, US consumers, they are consuming fresh produce and it's on increase. So you can see the industry is growing. There are other industries that has become saturated. Even take the meat industry, or now you have all this type of burgers coming out. So these are the things that we need to advise these farmers to make decisions. Go ahead, please. So as I said, you can get about 4 types of feasibility analysis. And we are going to concentrate on the product. You can have organization. You can have capital, workers and everything. If you don't have a well-defined organizational structure for your company or farm, it's not going to work. There's also a target market, trying to target a specific demographic to sell a product. You can do that. For example, if you take all these fast food industries, you see Burger King here across the street, it's Hardee's or whatever. You may think these people are crazy. No, they are using the US Census data. That's where most of the single parents live, and they are not home. So these kids have to get something to eat. The same thing applies to the pharmacy stores. Walgreens is here across the CVS. Maybe that's where people like me and my friend Dr. Gail and the rest we live, because we always go to the pharmacy for a refill. So basically that's the target market. Then we have financial feasibility analysis to make sure that business is going to be successful. And again, you need an enterprise budget to get it done, please. So these are some of the advantages that farmers have to do, and it will help them. As I said, it helps you list all the things you need to make your business. So anytime you see business, it's a farm. We try to make them change their idea to learn that the farm, whatever they are doing, is a business. It also helps you to identify all the logistical and other business programs that you may face. You don't want to jump into it, then find out that, I can't do it. You develop your marketing strategies. And as I said, it serves as a solid foundation for your business plan. So you may have a great business idea. You still have to find a cost-effective way to market your product, or you are not going to make the money. Please. So these are the differences between a feasibility analysis and a business plan preparation. Feasibility analysis is conducted before you decide to proceed with the project. A business plan is after you've made a decision that now you have every reason to pursue this enterprise. 2, as I said earlier, it gives you the opportunity to identify all the alternative products for you to make a decision. Business plan focuses on one thing. So at the end of the day, feasibility is an investigative function, while a business plan is a planning function. Please go ahead. So under market feasibility analysis, the study helps you determine if the market is sustainable. Basically, in a layman's, if the market is able to absorb your product, so that you can make competitive price and make money. Especially if you're a startup, like a beginning farmer, it's very, very essential you do that. It also helps you to analyze the existing demand. And it's not only today's demand, 5 years, 10 years down the road, because there are government policies and other things that can come in and change everything. If you realize the past administration, the First Lady put emphasis on fresh produce consumption to fight obesity and the rest. So, but you can have an administration who may not care and there will be no support. I think the 2008 Farm Bill, that was the first time you have a line item for fresh produce and vegetable producers. It wasn't there. So you need to be very, very careful, not only looking at just current demand, but make your projections given all the unforeseen external factors that may come up. Please. So to determine if a market is sustainable for you to enter, some markets are more attractive, others are not. It also helps you identify the market's potential for growth. That's what I'm saying. Today, you may see that the market is growing, that there's a whole lot of demand out there. A year or two down the road is gone. Because new technology, you are going to have demographic change. These days, we have all these kids that are growing up. They don't want to buy cars. They want to live closer to their workplaces, and that's why you see the demand for auto vehicle and the rest are all going down. So the decline of manufacturing is not only because there are a whole lot of demographic factors that affect the demand of a product, and you need to foresee all those things in future, down the road, and make decisions. Please. So these are some of the 3 aspects of feasibility study, that it identifies any make or break issue that can prevent your business from being successful. It also provides information necessary for the business plan. As I said, is the skeleton of the business plan. and it will help you identify any major roadblocks down the road. Please. So that's in a snapshot, that's what a feasibility study gives you. Enterprise budget, as I said, is basically the difference between your revenue and your cost. And your revenue is basically your yield multiplied by the market price. And you don't have control over the prices, both the output and the input. When you go to the farmer's market to sell your product, you are going to sell it at the ongoing price. So you have no control. What you have control is your yield. So you need to bump it up. Anything that you can do to bump up your yield per acre or per head, that's what you need to do. On the same side, for the cost, you don't have control over input prices, but you have control of the amount of input you are going to use. And that's why you try to minimize it. And if you are able to minimize your cost, your profit is going to be higher because it's just the difference. Please. So that's what I've said. I've already said. You have to estimate the inputs you need. That will help you assess, it helps you assess your profitability. And again, it helps you to compare alternative enterprise and come up with the one you think you are going to get the maximum net returns. Again, there's a caveat. If your skills can allow you to produce that product, or if your soil can support that. Please. Go ahead. So the components, as I said, is basically your income and your cost. The cost is very, very catchy. There are two types of cost: variable versus fixed. If you're a farmer and you own a property, a land, whether you produce that year or not, you are going to pay property tax. You are going to pay insurance and the rest. So this is what you call the fixed cost. The variable cost, from the word variable, they vary with your operation. The larger the operation, the higher the cost. And break-even analysis is basically telling you how much you can produce or sell in order to make sure that you are not underwater. Please. So first, you need to determine how much output, which is the yield or number of animals you are going to produce under normal conditions. Then you lay down all your inputs. The inputs will generate your cost for you. And as I said, you also have to think about your fixed cost, which include depreciation. If you have a tractor sitting there, whether you are using it or not, it's going to lose value, like all of us are losing value as the year go. Interest and taxes, you have to assess all of them. Go ahead.
5-minute warning.
Okay. So that's why record keeping is very, very important. You need to know the past records, especially market prices and everything. You've thrown me out. What? Yeah, go. I'm on enterprise budget. Go. Go. Yeah, I'm here. So basically, that's why you construct it, as I said earlier. Your income or revenue is basically your expected yield multiplied by the market price, the average market price, and these are your costs. And the difference between your cost and your revenue is the net return. And most of the time, if you go to most cooperative extension website, you see net returns to land, net returns to labor. That's the same. So if you're a farmer and you can itemize every cost except your land that you think you own it, all what you do is do the net returns. You keep your land first. So that's the net return to land. On the other hand, if you are renting the land, so you know the price, but you are using your own labor, you do it, and that will be net return to your labor. So that's how those things, as you see in most extension budgets, that's how you calculate it. Go. So as I said, the variable cost, they are very, very easy to determine. It's the fixed cost that sometimes is a hassle. How do you apportion? If you have a tractor and you use the tractor to plow the land for corn, beans, and the rest, how are you going to apportion the cost? So it's all estimation. You can use number of hours you use to plow the acreage for corn versus beans, and you allocate. The same thing applies to the fuel and the rest, and you come up with it. So most of the time, the cost side, especially the fixed cost side, is all estimation, and you can do whatever you are comfortable with, so long as you keep your records. It becomes very, very easy the following season. Go. So go ahead. So basically, these are the things we did for farmers who want to go into honeybee production, lima beans, and the rest, and all this were done, I think, the last 5-6 years. So I'm done. And any questions?